Hi students, welcome back. In the insect systematics lecture 1, in the last slide, I asked you a question. Have you ever felt that the insect which you have seen, the insect which you have collected is new to science? How are you going to prove that the specimen which you have collected is actually a new species? So far about 10,50,000 species have been described and your specimen which you have collected is new to science. Okay, so how are you going to prove that? In fact, we will try to understand that process in this lecture 2, wherein I will be concentrating on introduction to systematics, the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, type concept in nomenclature, and law of priority. So in the previous lecture, we discussed about meaning of taxonomy, classification, and phylogenetics. There is a lot of diversity among insect species, and among that diversified insects group, there is a similarity as well as dissimilarity. And we also studied the importance of classification, why classification has to be done. I took few of the insect example, arthropod example, as well as the library example, wherein the books are dumped. How are you going to be classify, and why the classification is important. Morphological similarity does not indicate actual relationship. So we have a very important character to be considered is actually the phylogenetics, so that the natural classification is actually performed. Okay, so in this lecture 2, I'll be concentrating on taxonomy, classification, systematics, and phylogenetics. So especially first three terminologies, taxonomy, classification, and systematics are used interchangeably. So that's why we need to have a very clear picture of these three terminologies. Categories are hierarchy of classification, ICZN and its guidelines, common name, systema naturae, and binomial nomenclature and its importance, procedure for identifying a new species, type concept in nomenclature, synonyms and homonyms. So we'll take one by one. So systematics and taxonomy, are they same or different? Because these two terminologies are used in tandem or interchangeably many times. So in fact, these two terminologies are like two sides of a coin. Systematics is what systematists think, and taxonomy is what he does in his day-to-day activity. That means whatever the knowledge he uses in order to classify the organisms. Okay, that knowledge is actually the systematist think, but the procedure followed is actually the taxonomy. So in reality, taxonomy is delineated as a branch of systematics, where systematics includes diversity and evolutionary studies. Okay, so we'll have a precise knowledge of these things. So taxonomy is defined as the theoretical study of classification, including its basis, procedures, principles, and rules. So taxonomy talks about guidelines. So it is sometimes incorrectly used in place of systematics. Okay, so taxonomy is actually the study of principles and practice of classification, and as such, it is only the part of systematics. Okay, yeah. So whereas systematics is defined as scientific study of kinds and diversity of organisms and of any relationships among them. Okay, so although it looks complex, if you understand these three terminologies, the meaning of systematics, okay, can be easily understood. Okay, so you know that there is a diversity. Okay, so refers to variation found among the kinds of organisms, right? So there is a lot of diversity even in case of insects. But if you see them, there is a similarity. For example, you take these four insects, four beetles. So I have separated into two clusters, two groups. So that there must be similarity, because of that two groups are made. So based on my knowledge, I separated into two groups. You can see here, antenna is actually filiform, and they have got the mouth parts which are modified for predaceous purpose. Whereas here the mouth parts are modified for scavenging purpose, and their antenna is lamellate type. Okay, and their forelegs in fact are burrowing type. So based on that similarity and dissimilarity, I have made two groups. Okay, so that is actually called kinds. So as systematics says, kinds and diversities of organisms and their relationship. So kinds refers to group of organisms distinguished from other groups. Okay, we distinguish these two groups based on some characters: antennae, mouthparts, legs. Okay, but there is a similarity among these four insects. What is that similarity? They have got elytra type of forewings. Okay, that if you use the elytra on the character, all those four actually now considered as single group. But if you use other characters, we can start segregating them. So that's called kinds. But there is a relationship, refers to any means of association among individuals of a group depending on the means of grouping. So there is an association. In what character that association is there? Antenna, legs, mouth parts, wings, I was telling, that is the relationship. Based on that relative character, we can segregate them. So that is the definition of systematics. Okay, so what is the difference between systematics and taxonomy then? Systematics is the study of kinds and diversities of organisms and of any relationships among them, whereas taxonomy is actually the study of theories, principles, and practice of classification. And as such, it is only the part of systematics. As it is rightly said in the previous slide, what systematics thinks is actually studying the kinds and diversity, but what he actually follows in his day-to-day activity is actually the taxonomy. So that means systematics includes both taxonomy as well as phylogenetics. So taxonomy and phylogenetics are the part of systematics. So similarly, classification and taxonomy are also used interchangeably many times. So it appears similar to taxonomy, but classification does not include the methodology, theory, and principles. So classification only involves the act of placing a kind of organisms in its place among a system of groups and ranks, as well as refers to final place in the system the organism holds. So we know that there is different categories like kingdom, class, subclass, order, family, like that. So where it has to be placed based on our understanding is actually the classification. So maybe this actually clears all your doubts with respect to different terminologies. So systematics is actually now placed at the top of this picture. So systematics includes classification, arranging the whatever the kinds and diversities of organisms are there based on some methodology, some guidelines. Okay, some principles is actually the taxonomy, but by following the phylogenetics. Correct? The phylogenetic relationship is used, correct? Common ancestry is used, so that whatever the classification which we make is actually the natural. It should not be artificial classification. So then only we can arrive at a correct relationship. As a result, correct classification can be made. Okay, so that is the meaning of all those three terminologies, especially which are used interchangeably, which also comprises of phylogenetics. Okay, yeah. So let us discuss about the categories of classification. Although we know about these 8 different categories which are used classified or categorized when you are doing a superficial classification like domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So species is ultimately the lowest point of the basic unit of classification. So this is the general way of ranking or categorizing the classification. But if you specifically look into the detailed classification, in fact, it consists of 18 or 19 categories. Okay, kingdom, phylum, subphylum, superclass, sometimes also used epiclass, class, subclass, cohort. In between the subclass and cohort, sometimes we'll use another category called the infraclass, superorder, order, suborder, superfamily, family, subfamily, tribe, genus, subgenus, species. Species is the lowest of the basic unit of classification. Say, for example, Musca domestica can be positioned at the species level, subgenus level, genus level, tribe level, like that up to kingdom level. Okay, hope you understood this. So on some time, we can also identify another lower category called subspecies. So these are the different categories of classification. So we'll look at the other definition, which are also very important when you are talking about taxonomy. Identification, assigning of an unidentified object or organism, the specimen which you have collected, to the correct taxon. So taxon means a group of real organisms recognized as a formal unit at any level of hierarchical classification. Say, for example, the specimen which you have collected, Musca domestica, I'll take this example. Okay, you may identify up to species level. Okay, that is the naming. Okay, identification, subgenus level or genus level. Okay, Musca, the genus level, you will not be able to identify to species level. That's what I'm telling you today. To which family it belongs to, which order it belongs to, Diptera, for example, kingdom Animalia, for example. So taxon includes all those individuals, okay, coming under that particular level of category. Suborder may consist of number of organisms, number of species of insects. Superfamily consists of number of insect species. So species is the single one. So that is the taxa. So a species may be taxa, a subgenus may be taxa. Okay. So taxa means a group of real organisms recognized as a formal unit at any level of hierarchical classification. So then nomenclature means literally by call by name. Okay. So we can call by any name, of course, but scientific name is very much important. So it means in taxonomy, nomenclature means it is actually scientific naming of any things. Okay, specimens, insect specimens here in this case. So we'll start calling by names. We'll use common names. Locally called names differ from place to place. Okay, people start calling by. So say for example, take few example. Dragonflies are called mosquito hawks, rainy flies, devil dormers. Okay, you can call by any name, but the problem is universality. Okay, people will not understand if you use local names. Okay, say for example, in Assamese may use a different name in their vernacular name for a dragonfly. Similarly, a Tamilian may use a different name. In Kannada, it may be called a different name. So, but these names are useful only while communicating between professionals and lay persons, but it is not universal. Although people have tried to commonalize, make the commonality among the use of common names, but it's really tough in fact. So like say for example, only two flies are written in two words. Say for example, house fly. Whenever you are writing house fly, it should be mentioned in two words so that you will understand it belongs to order Diptera. But if dragonfly is written in two words, it becomes Diptera. Okay, but dragonflies are not dipterans. Butterflies are not dipterans. Okay, there are so many flies. So, but if you are writing any other flies other than the true dipterans, true flies, it should be written in single word. So that is the meaning. But still, there is a difficult thing in order to universalize these type of common names. It is very tough. So that's why, however, these names are not universally accepted, and sometimes it is confusing. So that's why scientific naming is very much important, and this scientific naming, the procedure should be monitored by an agency. So then only it's possible to develop a universal system so that everybody follows same nomenclature. So that's why, in fact, Linnaeus, in the year 1758, he came out with a binomial nomenclature. In fact, he published a series of publications in the 10th edition of his Systema Naturae. He consistently followed binomial nomenclature. Hence, okay, the 1st January 1758, which he published the Systema Naturae, is considered as a starting point of binomial nomenclature. Okay, whatever the binomial nomenclature, whatever the name people gives after 1758 for any species is valid. Okay, the scientific name of any species consists of two parts. That is the binomial nomenclature. So the first name is genus name, and the second name is specific epithet. That is species name. Why it is called epithet is that specific epithet does not have any meaning unless it is joined with genus. Okay, for example, Helicarpa armigera is a scientific name. So this armigera do not have any value, any meaning unless it joins with genus name. So that is the thing. So armigera may be placed with another genus name so that the name of that species will differ. Okay, so that is the thing of that is the importance of the terminology specific epithet. So for universality, all scientific names should be printed in italics. You can see here, Helicarpa armigera, are underlined when written or typed. So when you are not italicized, you can underline that scientific name. That is the universality, very important system to be followed. So very important thing is that the first letter of the genus name is capitalized. You can see here, and the other letters of the genus as well as the specific epithet should be in small letters. So that is a very important thing to be followed when you are writing the binomial nomenclature. But still, the people were actually following the binomial nomenclature when they are actually discovering any new species. But there was no monitoring agency in order to monitor the scientific names or the naming of any taxon level. So that's why, now considering its importance, an organization or a body of scientists actually took place, which is actually called International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, authorized initially by the International Congress of Zoology, but now adopted by the International Union of Biological Sciences. So this ICZN, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, that formulates the guidelines for scientific naming of animals. Okay, as we talk about zoology, so it only monitors the scientific name of animals. So it is the system of rules and recommendations authorized by the International Congress of Zoology, now adopted by the International Union of Biological Sciences. So at present, it monitors the rules and principles of taxonomy. So it contains, at present, we follow 1999 edition of ICZN, wherein it consists of 18 chapters and 90 articles. So we are following this 4th edition, 1999 edition at present. So this is the monitoring agency, in fact. And now principles or guidelines have been laid out that needs to be followed when you are whenever you are actually naming a new species or giving a name to any of the categories or classification. So what is the objective of the code? What is the very important? In fact, there are a number of objectives and principles of this ICZN. Very important objectives actually I picked up and mentioning at this juncture. So the objective of the code is to promote stability and universality. So stability means, for example, today if you call by a name, scientific name, tomorrow it should not change. After 10 years, it should not change. So that is the stability and universality. All the people around the globe should call by a same name for a particular species. In the scientific name of animals, and to ensure that the name of each taxon is unique and distinct. There should not be any confusion. Okay, so there are a few objectives, guidelines which actually ICZN has prepared. So the first guideline is name should be derived from Greek or Latin. Okay, so you cannot use the direct names, the English names which you use normally. So name should be derived from Greek or Latin. It should be italicized. Of course, you can say, for example, you cannot call Shumaga directly. It should be Latinized. So you should convert that name to Greek or Latin. So that it becomes, say, for example, Shumagensis. So that's how we can change that term. Name should be Latinized or italicized and underlined. Okay, so you can Latinize that. If you use that term, it should be Latinized if you are not using the Latin word directly. So, or it should be italicized like this, Periplaneta americana, or if you type it, it needs to be, if you handwrite it, you need to underline it. The first letter of the genus name is capitalized and species name with small letters. And I was mentioning various categories, kingdom, class, subclass, order, suborder, like that, family, subfamily. Only some of these categories have got specific endings. Okay, so some of the taxonomic categories have got specific endings, like superfamily ends with idea. I will take the example of honeybees. So honeybees belongs to superfamily called Apoidea. So whenever you are using the term idea, Apoidea, that indicates that, okay, we are talking about honeybee superfamily. Okay, yeah, that's family, IDAE, ends with Ide, Apidae. So honeybees belongs to family Apidae. Subfamily, Ine, INAE, Apinae. So honeybees belongs to subfamily Apinae. Tribe ends with Ini. Honeybees belongs to subfamily Apini. Okay, so it may be Noctu idea, Noctu Ide, Noctu Ine, Noctu Ini. So any family, if there is a superfamily, it should be called with that idea, that specific ending. That is the idea behind this. So very importantly, you can should not forget. So say, for example, the first letter of the scientific name, the genus name, should not be in a small letter. And similarly, the first letter of the specific epithet, species name, should not be capitalized. So these things should be kept in mind. So that is actually the wrong thing. So the fifth guideline is the person who describes the insect for the first time is the author, which should be indicated next to scientific name. If anybody describes that name, the organism, his name should be ever remembered by placing next to scientific name, like Linnaeus, Periplaneta americana Linnaeus, or sometimes it may be abbreviated with a full stop, Periplaneta americana L, like that. Okay, so if the author name is abbreviated, put full stop after the abbreviation like this. Okay, when the specific identity of the species is not known, okay, then write generic name and say SP if there is only one specimen. If more than one specimen is there, you can write SPP. So what it indicates? Say, for example, Periplaneta, you could be able to identify to genus level. So you collect some specimens of cockroaches, you will identify to genus level, but you will not be clear that whether it is Americana or not. Okay. If you have collected one specimen, you can put it as Periplaneta SP. If there are more number of individuals, but each of them looks similar, but they belongs to genus Periplaneta, what you are going to do? You consider it as Periplaneta SPP. That indicates that there are more species under the Periplaneta in your collection. So that is some of the guidelines. So some more guidelines includes author or authority. I was telling, now you understood the meaning of author. What it says? Author is the one who actually first described, named that particular species. It is sometimes necessary that the author name to be indicated along with the scientific name. Okay, like Linnaeus I was telling. Author is a person who describes that organism for the first time. Author name is written next to scientific name like this. Okay, so only thing, one caution is that name of the author should not be italicized or underlined. Okay, like I was telling. So only Musca domestica should be italicized or underlined, but that should not continue for the author name. The second guideline is author name in parenthesis. Sometime we will actually come across in future classes. Say for example, Unicorpa armigera, Ubner. Okay, in the previous case, Linnaeus name was not in the bracket. Here you see the Ubner name is in the bracket. So what it indicates? The author had described the species and placed it in some genus other than the genus in which it has now been placed. Looks complex, right? But I'll take the example. So, for example, Ubner is a taxonomist who collected this specimen for the first time. Okay, who named it as Noctua armigera. Okay, he described and he named it as Noctua armigera. So, as a procedure, Noctua armigera Ubner should be called, right? So, but another scientist who actually going through all the Noctua species around the world, described in many parts of the world, what he does actually, he feels that this Noctua armigera, this genus Noctua, is not actually Actua, but it is actually belongs to another genus called Helicorpa. So based on that knowledge, he actually shifts that Noctua genus into Helicorpa genus. So as a result of that, he proves that. And as a result of that, so the name of this Noctua armigera becomes Helicorpa armigera. Okay. So this Ubner name, it's supposed to be in the open condition. It should not be placed in the bracket in the earlier situation. But, okay, so because of this shifting from the previous genus to another genus, the name of the author will be shifted to shifted or placed inside the bracket. So what it indicates, now I think you will understand, the author had described the species and placed it in some other genus other than the genus which has now been placed. Okay, wherein in another genus it was there, but it was shifted to another genus. So that is the meaning of parenthesis. So original name is shifted to some other genus name. Under that condition, the author name actually goes to bracket. So that is the idea behind this. So very important thing. So we'll get into the procedure followed for identification and naming a new species or new taxa. Say for example, a taxonomist actually goes out for a collection, bring it and preserve it, and he feels that it may be used to science. What he does actually in order to prove his point, so he refers all the published literature. He goes through the specimens of his collection and also published literature. So because publication is a very important thing, if anybody come out with a new species, it needs to be published in a journal. He goes through the various publications published around the globe in various journals, and he feels that it may be new. Okay, but still he compares with the already named specimens. So some of those specimens may be deposited in some recognized laboratories, museums. He goes there, or you obtain the specimen, and he goes through the characters of that specimen which already described. Okay, and he looks for different characters in this specimen compared to the described specimens previously. And then only after confirmation, if he feels that it is new to science, he then gives the names to species. It becomes a new species. So and his name will become ever remembered, or his name will be placed next to scientific name so that his name will be ever remembered. Okay, so it becomes permanent. So that is the opportunity this taxonomy or insect taxonomy gives. Okay, as I was telling that more than 5 million species of insects are yet to be described. Okay, so for every one of you has got an opportunity to describe a new species. As a result, your name will be placed next to scientific name. That is the very important thing, so that your name will also be ever remembered. So I will extend this further. Okay, so what it does, for example, in case of genus Dispia, a damselfly genus, only 4 species have been described so far on this planet. Okay, a taxonomist who is working on dragonfly, actually, what he does, he has collected a specimen and he goes through the characters published or with the original specimen which have been deposited elsewhere, and he proves that the specimen which is collected belongs to genus, but not to any of these 4 species mentioned. So then he feels that it is actually new to science. So that based on the guidelines and regulations by following the ICZN rules, he gives name to that new species. Okay, it becomes 5th species of that particular genus. So he published that name and description in a scientific journal. Okay, he publishes so that it actually spreads, so that everybody will actually come across that there is a new species has been described. So there onwards he will be the authority of that species. His name will be placed next to scientific name. So then whatever that's maybe species means there will not be a single individual. You know that species are group of interbreeding individuals. So one specimen cannot become a species in nature. So there must be a number of individuals. So what he does, he might have collected 8 or 10 specimens. What he does, out of that one specimen he take out, a best pinwheel specimen maybe, a single specimen has to be designated as holotype and deposited safely in some recognized laboratories or in some museum. Okay, what he does, he take out of those 7 or 8 specimens which he has collected, he take out one specimen and deposit in a recognized laboratory, and in his publication he writes that that specimen has been deposited in that particular lab. Okay, that specimen is called holotype. Okay, so that's how new species has to be described. So that problem of type is there. What is that? Why should we deposit like that? So we'll try to understand type concept in nomenclature. So whenever a new taxon is described, the describer, as the author of the new taxon, he is supposed to designate a name bearing specimen. Okay, he has to label it. Okay, that is the very important thing, is labeling a name bearing specimen as a type. So type is a reference specimen. Okay, the type serves as a reference collection, a reference specimen, so that if any question arises in future, if somebody says that it is not new, it's actually one among those 4 species. So what it does, it should be able to be available for further research. So if any question that might arise on the taxonomic status of the described insect species, the specimen should be available for further examination. So that's why that reference specimen should be deposited in some place, in some recognized laboratory. So that's where the type concept is very much important in nomenclature. So it's nothing but the reference specimen. So, but there are different types. Within the types I was talking, reference specimen, there are different types. One is actually holotype. So it is a single specimen upon which the description and the name of a new species is based. A single specimen upon which the description is actually based. What is the description? Antenna is like that, mouth parts is like that, 4 legs are like this, wings are like that. So that is the description. So based on that particular reference specimen, it is that particular species is described, is considered as holotype. I take this simple example. Say for example, a taxonomist actually collect 8 individuals of a particular species, and he goes through that all those procedures to be followed for naming. He feels that it is a new to science. Okay, he describes it as a new species. Once he does that, he takes out one specimen and deposit it, designate it as a reference specimen, which is called holotype. So that is a name bearing type upon which the description is actually based, original description is based. So this one specimen will become holotype. Okay, so that is the meaning. But the problem is there. Okay, one specimen he has taken out. The remaining specimen which he collected out of those 8, now the remaining will become paratypes. Okay, so paratypes is nothing but all the remaining specimen in the type series. So remaining 7 will become paratypes. Okay, then allotype. What is the meaning of allotype? Opposite sex of the holotype. Say for example, among those 8 individuals, the first describer has taken out one as holotype. Okay, and that one specimen is actually male. Okay, it is nothing like that. So you should take one is male or female, anything like that. You can take out either male or female and designate it as male, or let's say holotype. And the opposite sex of that holotype is actually called allotype. So supposedly, if male is designated as holotype, the female will become allotype. So opposite sex of holotype will become allotype. If female is designated, the male will become allotype. So that is the meaning. Okay, so in fact, there are different kinds of types are there. At this juncture, these 3 types, holotype, allotype, and paratypes, are enough or needs to be understood. So So any describer actually published in a journal like this. So description of 2 new species of termites from Assam, India. So like that, so he has to publish in a scientific journal, and those specimens have to be preserved properly in a recognized museum or institution, so that those specimens should be available for examination for anybody. If anybody asks that, so I want to see that specimen, it should be available for further research, further examination. So that is the idea behind type concept in nomenclature. Okay, so another very important guideline or the principles laid out in ICZN is law of priority. In fact, there are several principles in zoological nomenclature. So one of very important principle to be understood is the law of priority. So what happens? Sometimes it happens that particular taxon is described independently by 2 or more people and hence may have more than one name. Okay, so it is possible because of this wide diversity of organisms which are distributed in different continents. Without referring others' literature, others' specimens, he may name or give the different name to same species. Okay, that type of possibilities will be there. So particular taxon, a scientific name described independently by 2 or more people, and a particular species which is there in India and Australia may have got 2 different names, but they are same species. Okay, under that condition, that universality will be confusion, will be problematic. So as a result, that law of priority actually comes into picture. So in such case, the first name used from 1758 onwards, I told it is the starting point of zoological nomenclature, will be considered as correct name, called valid name, and any other names will become synonyms. Okay, so senior name will be retained and junior names will become invalid. Okay, so probably if you take few examples, it becomes easy to understand. Say for example, Runwal and Chivatani in the year 1962 described a new species called Pseudocapriterms picadari. Okay, they described a new species and published it. But unfortunately, what happened for the people who actually corrected same species in different place, probably the Mathur and Tapa, who actually designate that particular species as Pseudocapriterms planus. Okay, same species in fact, but they got 2 different names now in the year 1965. So what happens now? So which is senior name? Pseudocapriterms picadari name is senior name, and this becomes junior name. So as a result of that, senior name should be retained and junior name should be made invalid. So that is the law of priority. So hope you got it. So if you understood this concept, it's very easy to understand the meaning of synonyms and homonyms. So we'll see what happens. Synonyms. Synonyms means different name given to same taxon. Okay, say for example scientific name. So it may be order level or subfamily level or whatever it may be. So different names given to same taxon. Under that condition, senior synonym, the first described name is retained. So we'll take the example. Cotton leafhopper, for example, this one. In the year 1912, Ishida named it as Ambraska bigotula. Then distant, in the year 1918, named it as Emposca devastans. You see, because of this year changes in these years, so Ishida's name is actually senior name, distant name is actually junior name. But for a same taxa, okay, they are actually same species, but they have got 2 different names now. What has to be done? So the senior name should be made valid and junior name should be made invalid. So senior name should be retained so that it can be we can continue to use the scientific name Ambraska bigotula instead of Emposca devastans. So that is the meaning of synonym. Similarly, homonym. Homonym means one name has been given to 2 or more different taxa. So this is unfortunate thing, it happens many times. Under that condition, senior homonym is retained. Okay, that means you can see here one name for 2 different taxa. Okay, same name. Say for example, a person actually come out with a new species in India. Unfortunately, another person in America gives same name to another organism. Okay, that is called homonym. So I'll take the example. Drury in the year 1773 established Cerambix maculatus. This is the new species he identified for a beetle species from Jamaica. Okay, Cerambix maculatus. Veblen in the year 1775 established same name, Cerambyx maculatus. He gave same name for a different species from Switzerland without referring to this name. Actually, unfortunately, he gave that name. But as a result of that seniority, this Drury's name actually retained, and this name, the Veblen name actually made invalid. So Veblen's name is junior homonym and hence was rejected. So we used Drury's names for that particular species. Okay, yeah. So that's called homonym. So what is the importance of study of insect systematics or taxonomy? So classification helps in identification of the species, to study the common structural character of different group of insects, to study the evolutionary relationship among insects or origin of insect species, to know the importance of pests, productive insects or beneficial insects. Okay, so that is the importance of systematics. So then what is the different methods of identification of insect species? Okay, so we will not get a specialist who can identify the insect for all the groups. So then how are you going to identify the insect which you are collecting? So the specimen may be sent to an expert. Okay, so you will never get a person who actually identify all those 10,50,000 species. There are specialists around the world. What needs to be done? You need whatever specimen which you have collected, at least to some level, say order level or family level. If you think that this is insect, that you can consult your teacher or say person who actually well versed with these insects, and you can identify that particular expert who may be there in any part of the world. You can send that specimen to that expert and get it identified. One way. The specimen may be compared with the specimens in a labeled collection. For example, if your laboratory, your university laboratory or institute laboratory has got collections, you go out there and just compare the specimens. If it is already identified, if you just compare with the characters, if it is done, so that it becomes very easy to identify to species level or any other level for that matter. It may be compared with the pictures of description. Okay, so in the many of the publications, the pictures will be given. So go through those pictures and see whether it is same or different. Although it is not good that all the time that based on the pictures, identification is not actually correct. It may be identified by a key. In fact, now the specialists have developed keys. Keys are nothing but couplets which have got alternate characters, through which the specimen will be taken to solution or identification, particular level of nomenclature, say level of classification through the keys. So for example, these keys are usually couplets like antenna present, antenna absent, wings reduced, wings well developed. Like that, couplet of characters will be given. Based on that, we can identify the keys through a published literature. Lastly, but very importantly nowadays and recently developed technology called DNA barcoding. Okay, so very important technique. In fact, if you do not know, also it's possible to identify to the species level by extracting the DNA, and if the database is already there, the sequence character of particular gene is already deposited in web. Okay, it's possible to compare with the DNA which you extracted and see whether it matches or not, so that we can identify. Okay, that database, if it is there, it's very easy. Otherwise, you can identify and develop your own database. So it's a very important recent technique which is actually growing well now for identification of insects. So I'll end this lecture with a very important quote by Linnaeus, so that I can link this lecture with the third lecture of insect systematics. The first step in wisdom is to know the things themselves. This notion consists in having the true idea of the object. Objects are distinguished and known by their methodical classification and appropriate naming. Therefore, classification and naming will be the foundation of our science. Okay, other than the human beings, who is going to study these organisms which are there on this planet Earth? Okay, it's our duty to classify the organisms, understand them, name them, and this naming is the basic or the foundation of our science. So for any other branches of entomology, the systematics is the base. That's what actually I want to propose. I want to give detail. So I want to end this lecture with one or two questions. Who is reviser in taxonomy? I did not introduce this word, but if you understand this terminology, many other things can also be better understandable. Okay. Similarly, the second question is, what is sim type, lectotype, and neotype? So try to get more information so that this class will be better understood. So thank you very much. If there are any specific questions, you can post below, or you can email me as well. Thank you very much.